For the English listeners, you can skip the Bulgarian intro and go to this timestamp. Добре, ние сме с епизод 2 на Rest.Less Podcast. Епизод 2, в който ще ви срещна с един много така интересен човек за мен. Един човек, който аз самото начало наричам моят приятел от Норвегия, но той всъщност не е моят приятел от Норвегия, а моя интернационален приятел. Това е Трулс Ома, който по принцип е един доста сериозен пътешественик и приключенец, който пътува общо дето по всякакви знайни и незнайни дестинации с различни цели. Неговите дестинации не са толкова така баналните и типичните дестинации за всеки един човек, по-скоро търси по-различен поглед към пътуването и към света, посещава какви ли не места. Но днес няма да си говорим за неговите пътешествия туристически, днес ще си говорим за неговите бегачески приключения и неговите бегачески пътешествия, защото Трулс е първият човек, даже не се знае дали има втори, но най-вероятно има втори, но е първият човек, който е избягал маратоните на така наречения Axis of Evil. Преди години президента на щатите Джордж Буш нарича Axis of Evil страните Ирак, Иран и Северна Корея. Като Трулс е човек, който е, както се разбира, избягал маратоните на тези три страни и не само. Бягал е маратон в Афганистан, в Сомалия и така нататък. Той не го прави само защото да се похвали, ето бягах маратон в Северна Корея. Между другото, интересна история как се добираш до това да бягаш маратон в Северна Корея. Но той си има негов си начин и негова си причина да го прави, за която разказва. Неговия поглед на нещата и защо е важно за него да бяга маратони в тези страни. Разбира се, бягал маратони в Сомалия. Говорим си за неговото посещение на Кения и града на шампионите, където е успява да си спрете един тренировъчен лагер с кенийците. Говорим си много за кенийците, защото това място е специално, защо бегачите трябва да сме по-съзнати какво се случва там и ситуацията в Кения. Остава, между другото, Трулс също може да организира пътувания до Кения и да свърже хора с тренировка, да може да направи тренировъчен лагер с кенийците. По принцип не е нещо, което работи, но би могъл да го направи, така че ако някой иска и събере една такава хубава групичка, може да се организира нещо такова, така че оставям данните на Трулс долу, последвайте го, той има няколко инстаграм профил, но тези, които ще споделя, са неговия личен и един, който се казва Marathon Runner, който в него споделя за цялото си приключение като маратонски бегач. Стига съм говорил аз, защото този епизод е много интересен. Този епизод ще бъде на английски език. Реших да го пусна така както е на английски. Извинявайте за моя така ръждив английски език, но ако бях тръгнал да правя субтитри или да го по някакъв начин да го дублирам, ще да отнеме много време и може би ще го да излезе този епизод. Така че съжалявам, че е на английски език, но сега това е положението. Мисля, че повечето от вас ще се справят с английския. Така че ви пожелавам едно приятно слушане и така, надявам се да погледнете по друг начин на тези страни, за които ще си говорим в този епизод. So we can start now?
100%, let's go it.
Yeah, 100%. Always 100%, Truls. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And yourself, Tetsu?
Yeah, I'm great, but you're my friend from Norway, but I cannot say you're from Norway because you're my international friend. You're every week you're somewhere else. Where I'm finding you right now?
Right now, actually, surprisingly enough, in Norway. It's not, but give it a few weeks time, and I'm on my way to somewhere exotic again. I guess I just came back from Uzbekistan, so that was my last big journey.
Yeah, and we have so much topics to talk about, but today I want to talk about your running adventures. So maybe start right away because you have some interesting resume about your running career, if you can say so. But you run marathons and at some unusual places. Can we talk about what some say it's Axis of Evil? What's that and why it's called like that?
Sure.
Yeah, can we talk about that? Maybe let me just say to our viewers and listeners that you're the only person in the world that ran that. But,
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what is it?
But maybe I can start off with giving a little bit of background how I got into the running and the marathon chapter of my life, because it's
Okay, great.
growing up I was always very interested in sports. I was a ski jumper from Norway for until I was about 16 and moved on from there. But I signed up for my first marathon in 2012. Nothing too spectacular. It was just a full marathon here in Oslo, but it was one of those bucket list experiences.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just going to be a one-off and just enjoy running. I hadn't really run a whole lot before then, not like long distances like the full marathon. So for me, it was an exciting time to try something else, but it was only going to be that one time. So once the start of the race, and you're feeling good, and this is exciting, and next thing you know, I cross the finish line and I'm instantly hit by the marathon bug, or the running bug, as they call it.
I have so many friends that talk about that. They're gonna run one marathon, and that's all. And they run like 1,000 of them.
So then you're automatically sold, And for me, it was more than just running. It's it's the fulfillment of achieving something a bit bigger, and feeling that it's kind of hard to describe the feeling when you cross the finish line, because to me it's you have achieved something and you're feeling the pain, but it's also that feeling of success. It's the feeling of joy and tears, and the struggle, and everyone is cheering you on, and it's the whole thing that's very exciting. But on the other hand, so once I now got into this whole running and marathons, and I've always been very passionate about traveling, that I'd love to tell you more about, but that kind of got me interested in why not start running marathons at a bit odd locations, or you're not the most traditional places. You do have the marathon majors, obviously, in New York and London, Chicago, Berlin, Boston,
Tokyo.
But you also have all these smaller marathons that might not be necessarily on top of the radar for people. So for me, it was so. A few months later, I signed up for the Reggae Marathon in Jamaica. 30 plus Celsius degrees. It was sunny. It was in the middle of the night, because that's when it was the coldest, but still like super warm. And it was reggae music, and it was such an incredible experience being in Jamaica. So, and that again triggered me to go to Siberia. So next a few weeks later, I was in Omsk, Siberia, running when it was minus 30 Celsius. And
how you manage the difference between the temperatures, the temperature difference?
It's you kind of running. You gotta run regardless. So for me, it was just a matter of layers and stay warm. But as we all know, once you start running and exercising, you instantly start feeling quite warm. For me, it was a matter of managing how much layers. Like in Jamaica, it was quite obvious. You only wear a pair of shorts pretty much, and that's it. In Siberia, with minus 30 degrees Celsius, you start thinking about, okay, how can I stay warm when immediately when you walk outside, everything starts freezing. It's insane. So there I had, I think, like 3 layers of clothing. I had a windbreaker on. I had some thermal and a fleece underneath there, I think. I had some wool socks. I had my music, because I gotta run with music most of the times, and that after 10 minutes into, or not even 10 minutes, 5 minutes into the race, the battery was gone. So, but mittens, I even had a mask on to begin with there, but it was brutal, but such a fun experience. And from then on, I just, I've been running marathons all over the world, and my latest one was now in Uzbekistan.
When it's hardest, it's the most enjoyable at the end. Is it like that for you? If it's the hardest marathon ever, and you struggle every kilometer, it's the best feeling at the end.
I would say It's a combination of everything. So I get very excited knowing that I have a new marathon I'm running. I'm going to a new location. So it's the full package for me, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, I you know, in this case, even yesterday I signed up for a new marathon. And this will be in Bangladesh.
Okay.
And it's a country I've never been to. So I'm using my passion for running to take me places that I would normally not go to. So I have, you know, a marathon to look forward to. The date is set, the destination is set, and I have an excuse to stay in shape. So it's those things that kind of triggers me. So, but when it comes to the actual races, I would say that it's always that, you know, adrenaline, the feeling when you're standing and it's ready to start. Butterflies in your stomach. You don't know really, like it's been a while since you ran your last marathon, and do I have it still in me? And then once you start progressing, and obviously when you get to a certain point, your legs and your body start aching and feeling a little bit sore. But that's when it all gets into your head, like you just want to finish, you know, it regardless of how long it takes me. I'm not an elite runner, I'm an amateur runner, so I don't necessarily run on time. So for me, it's more just achieving something, feeling that I'm pushing myself, I'm mentally strong to cross the finish line, and I have yet to give up. So I think, and it doesn't matter for me if it takes me, you know, 4 hours. If it takes me 4.5, 5 hours, I can even go faster than so.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing about marathon running. Everybody can do it, because the elite runners, you know better than me that the elite runners, it's a speed event. They are very fast, but at the end of the line, there are some people that are barely running and mostly walking. But that's the greatest thing, because everybody is competing in the same level. So that's great. But when that idea to run in Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan came to you. It's
so
very strange.
Well, let's. I'll explain for you how that whole started, because that was a bit of I gotta even take it back a little bit further. So this was in 2013. I have to take you all the way back to when I ran in North Korea. Yeah. Because that's where this jersey is from, and everything you see. This is the original one from the actual marathon in North Korea.
Thank you for bringing it on camera today. Yeah, very very special gear.
It was such a special marathon in so many ways, but I have to tell you how I got involved, because this was back in 2013. I had a good friend who sent me a short video. Associated Press had published a video about a marathon existing in North Korea, and for me it was just, wow, this is right up in my alley of the kind of marathons that I love to do. This is now I finally get to explore North Korea, and I get to see it in a different way than what you would typically do. So, but where do I even begin? Like, there is a marathon, but
have you signed up?
No information about this. So I start digging into researching all sorts of things, and I came across a Wikipedia page, and it had listed the winners of the North Korea marathon for the last 25 years, with the exception of a few years where nobody knows. So, and I saw in 2010 you had a guy named Ivan from Ukraine who won the marathon. And I looked him up on Facebook and sent him a message, and he eventually came back to me and said, hey, fantastic, if you want to run, talk to my manager down in Germany. So he put me in touch with Günther, who was his manager, and then eventually I got in touch directly with North Korea and the sports authorities of North Korea. And that kicked off a year-long process of how can I run the marathon in North Korea, because it was easier said than done. It's not like where you typically just register for this. This was it took almost a year back and forth before I ended up getting the permission to run as the first ever amateur runner in North Korea. So up until then, it had been only elite and professional runners who had been specially invited for that race. And it was, so, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm flying into North Korea, and let me tell you, that was quite a interesting week to explore the country of DPRK. And everything, but it's very professional in many ways, and you sit there, and it was even a qualifying marathon, so it was at that time a bronze, considered an IAAF bronze marathon, so you could actually run North Korea marathon and qualify for the New York marathon or Boston, which was quite interesting. Another thing about that marathon was that you had a 4-hour cutoff. So normally a full marathon, you 6, 7, 8. I think even in New York marathon you can take as long as you want and you'll be fine. You're still going to cross that finish line. In North Korea we had 4 hours, which means
you gotta run, man. You gotta run.
You better run.
You better run.
You better run fast. So that whole marathon, I ended up even finishing in 3 hours and 48 minutes and 38 seconds. And here is the proof that I did finish. But it was such a crazy time, because you had a stadium. The start and finish happened at the stadium, the Kim Jong-il Stadium. 70,000 people, not a single seat empty. And you can just imagine when you're coming in there, and I was one of the last one to finish with that 4-hour cutoff, and I had the entire stadium cheering me on in North Korea, and it's just a weird setting to be in. But I did complete, and by that checked off a very interesting marathon to run. So that obviously made some headlines, especially here in Norway, around that marathon.
Yeah, but maybe if it wasn't for the running, you maybe never visit North Korea for other reasons.
Exactly, that's the thing. So that's where I'm trying to get with what I'm doing, is opening up a new running world for people who, and I just love for people to put on their shoes and get out there and trying to be a somewhat inspiration to others. And showing that not only the beauty of running, but also the beauty we see in this world. Because it's when you start going to these type of locations that I go to, when you see the country, the people in a different way than what media sometimes make it look like. So for me, that's been probably one of the main reasons why I do all this running. But you asked about about a few of the other marathons too. So once I've done North Korea, I also had a passion or an interest in, whenever it happens, if there is ever a marathon in Iran, I have to run there. And I checked and looked, and I talked to some Iranian people, and they told me, it's never been a marathon in Iran. So once I was told that in April of 2016 there will be a marathon in Iran, I signed up immediately, and I went there and became the first first Norwegian and first participant in the first ever marathon in Iran. And this was in Shiraz, south in Iran, Persepolis. It's a very famous area of Iran that has a lot of history, and running through the history of it in Iran like that was quite spectacular. And again, it was one of these. All these marathons that I run is typically a little bit unorganized, so
no way stations.
Yeah, it's always a little bit chaotic when everything starts, and Iran was not an exception to that. I think we had a clap ceremony. For some reason, we showed up 10 minutes before the start of the race. It was very unorganized, and then we were ready to start, but then we were being held back by the organizers. Like, no, we need to sing the national anthem, and then there's going to be a clapping entertainment from some kids. So I think 23 minutes after we were supposed to start running, everyone took off, and since this was the first marathon in Iran, it did catch a little bit of attention as well. We did run, and people were cheating a little bit, jumping on back of motorcycles and stuff. So, but it is what it is. To me, that's just an add-on to a fun experience.
But is it that the marathon is flat? Was it flat, or there are some hills in there?
In Iran, yes. In Iran, it was mostly flat. So, but I don't remember exactly how drinking stations and food stations they came and went a little bit. It wasn't as organized where every 5 kilometers or every 3 kilometers there will be a proper drinking station. Here it was like, all right, say that's like 12 kilometers to next one, and then 2 kilometers after that there was a new drinking station, and then they have some drinks, they have no drinks, so you just gotta.
And are there any local runners? I think there will be some local runners, but are they good? Were they good?
In North Korea, there was a North Korean that won. So they have a decent what now?
He better win.
Yeah, he better win. Yeah, but there was a guy from Rwanda that got second place, and Ivan, my friend from Ukraine, he placed third in that year. And I think they finished in 2:12 or 2 hours and 12. So it's a fairly good. It's elite runners that goes to North Korea. So on top of a handful of us amateur runners, and then a lot of locals, and that's the same in most of the races. It tend to be a lot of local people who also participate in these races. But now so I had finished North Korea, I had finished Iran. The one thing that really crossed my mind, and it was a friend again who mentioned this to me, but back in 2003, President Bush of the United States, at the State of the Union speech he held in 2003, he referred to the marathon, or the countries of North Korea, Iran, and Iraq as the axis of evil. Because at the time, this was a little bit of tensions between, especially in those countries that I mentioned, and the US. Not saying things have gotten much better since then, but it was referred to the trio as axis of evil. And I saw now an opportunity I have run in North Korea, I have run in Iran as the first marathon ever, and there is a marathon in Iraq, in Erbil, northern part of Iraq, a few months after Iran. So I signed up and finished that race, and by that became the first person in history in the world who have ever done the axis of evil marathon trio. So
anybody else who since then run the axis of evil?
There might be one other person that I think did it. One other person who have done it, but it was. But it was very difficult because, obviously North Korea has always been a very hard marathon to get into, and the fact that you only had the first time ever in Iran, and Iraq had gone. I don't think that's a marathon that exists anymore, for various reasons. But no one have done it before me that I can sign off on. So I take a little pride in that, but I'm not.
Can we see the medals? Because that's a piece of history right there.
So you already have obviously this is the proof that I did the North Korea marathon. And let's see here. I have. So here you have the Iran.
Yeah.
This is it says first international marathon of Iran. Shiraz, Persepolis, I run Iran. So it's and it's quite heavy. It's probably the heaviest medal I have. And then here is the proof that Erbil marathon this was in Iraq.
Yeah.
So so I have proof to show that I have done all of them. I did contact the Guinness World Record to get them to sign off that I'm the first in the world, but
that would be hard, I think. Yeah.
For political reasons, they were a little bit. Maybe we shouldn't approve this.
But when you go to those places, when we know that always tension there, always some kind of war there. Do you feel in danger? Do you feel like it's escape from the war around the country? So how you feel when you run those marathons? Because you run at some dangerous places. Everybody listening to that will say this dude is crazy because it can be a mine there on the I don't know. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. It's it comes with a risk, and it's not your typical destination. It's like, but I would like to say though that most of these places, if it's Iran, Iraq, North Korea, even Afghanistan, and one of my latest runs in Somalia, in Mogadishu, they're all known through media as places that that are related to war or tensions, or we know them as quite dangerous countries to be in, right? But on the other hand, it's when you through marathon and through running, it brings out so much else when you visit these places. It brings out smiles, it brings out enjoyment, it brings out excitement. People get engaged, people enjoy this. So I think it brings out a different aspect of the countries you visit. So I'm not going to sit here and say that all of Afghanistan is bad, when there are parts of Afghanistan that is certainly struggling and having a hard time, but there is also so much beauty in Afghanistan. Yeah. And I think that's the important part, and what I like to present and talk around when I visit these places. Like, yes, we spent time in Kabul before our race in Bamyan in Afghanistan, and it feels like almost like a ticking bomb about to go off every time when you travel around in Kabul. But then you go other parts of Afghanistan where we actually had the marathon race, and it was beauty, it was colorful, it was kids running around having a good time. It was people are looking at you a little weird, like, who is this guy from Norway walking around here? Love to take pictures, they engage, it's smiles and hugs, and so I think it's important to focus also on those sides of these places. But again, it's very high security in Somalia, in Mogadishu. We had the actual race took place within the airport premises, or within the airport. So there wasn't any chance or risk for any hijacking or any risk for anything blowing up when we were running. But we did have armed guards with us the whole time, and the same in Afghanistan, just for precautions of something were to happen. So,
and we talk about a little bit about Afghanistan, but I saw pictures and the footage of you running the Afghanistan marathon, and it's amazing, man. It's so beautiful there, so it's amazing scenery. Can you talk about that, about the beauty of that country, that we always connect with different things, with danger and with conflict?
Yeah, no, sure. It is a country that still has a lot to sort out. That I have to admit. But I'll take you back to how I was living in Japan at the time when that marathon came around, and it was only a limited number of spots. I think there were 10 or 12 of us foreigners that were allowed to run, and someone had backed out, so I got someone else's spot for this race, and flew into Kabul. And I have to say that going into these places, if it's North Korea, if it's Iraq, Iran, Somalia, and now Afghanistan, you have all these built-up expectations of how things may be through media, through what people have told you have been there before. and their expectations, and so you have so much built up expectations. And then once you arrive, you start cross-checking these things people have told you, what is media telling you, and you eventually start seeing that things are not exactly how you had portrayed or thought of as being the case when you arrive into these countries. And you start getting very comfortable. Like for instance, in North Korea, you start by you feeling this big, very tiny when you go in there, because you know that they are watching your every step you do, and they hold on to your passport. They have someone following you everywhere you go. So you don't feel like, but eventually you start learning and you're seeing, you engage with people that allow you to relax a little bit more. It's not you take pictures, and they're not going to tell you to delete them, but they will ask to see some of these pictures, but you rather take pictures, and hopefully they're not going to bother. And the same with Afghanistan, where once we settled down, this marathon race in Afghanistan happened in a place called Bamiyan, which is a bit north of Kabul, in an area that has been declared somewhat safe. So when you talk about landmines and issues like that, it wasn't as sketchy as other parts of Afghanistan. So I felt quite safe. We could walk freely out there without any issues. We could dress however we wanted. And I walked around and really enjoyed my time there. It might have been one of the most brutal marathons that I've run, because it was in the state park, and it was around 3,000 meter high, and it was pretty much vertical the whole time. It felt like it was so painful, and I like it flat, and I like lower levels. But in this case we had and it was windy and warm and dusty, and it wasn't too much drinking stay. I think I spent 4.5 hours with the first half marathon.
Okay.
So then you can imagine the remaining part. It wasn't my best marathon, but the most brutal one, and one of the most exciting one.
Is this the marathon that holds a special place in your heart, or if it's not that, which one is it?
I think all the marathons that I run has a special place in my heart, but some of them stand out in a different way. And obviously Afghanistan for me was one of the biggest one, because no other Norwegian have ran in Afghanistan, and it was one of those races that I'm looking back, and I'm extremely thankful to have seen and experienced Afghanistan and met so many wonderful people there, and it's sad what they're going through, but I really hope that the time will change for the better for the people of Afghanistan, and so with the people in Somalia and every country I visit that has a little bit of an issue, I guess. I really hope that life will get much better for them, and I think through the running it's at least a step in the right direction, because it engaged in a different way, and it brings out the smiles of people and a community of running that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
I want to talk about another special place in every runner's heart, and it's Kenya. Yeah. And you've been there. Kenya. You run with those monsters, those machines. But we know it's
yes, that's what we are putting in, right?
Yeah, but this is it's a place that again has some problems in there. But we know about the good thing that there are some very elite runners there, and you met them. And how was that for you?
Yeah. So I had a chance to go to the Eton, or the Home of Champions, as it's referred to. They have these nice gates as you get into Eton in Kenya, and this is where you'll find for me it's the mecca of marathon running. It's where you find the best of the best, regardless of nationality. They all meet there to train, and Kenyans, as we know, are some of the best in the industry. So this was some years back when I was wanting to see I signed up for not the most spectacular marathon, but this was in Rotterdam in Netherlands. But it's a fast course, and let's see how fast I can run. So I changed my entire daily routines from just waking up and going to work and doing a little bit of exercise and that's it, to actually go in as a pro athlete and see how much I can shave off my marathon best if I really focus on training, diet, any aspect. I engaged, got some sponsorships. So for several months, I trained like a pro athlete too. Like before work, one session, then went into work, and then a new session afterwards. Relaxed, did everything possible. And part of that training program was going to Kenya and Eton, not only for the training aspect but also for the inspiration, because once you get into an elite runner mindset, you can forget about all your social life. You gotta forget about everything that's fun that you do in life, especially if you're only doing this in a short term. But for me, I went to Kenya to learn from the best, and really learning and seeing and get inspired. So I through some friends I got introduced to one. He's a solid marathon runner. He's a, what is it, 2:10, so 2 hours and 10 minutes. So in the eyes of a Kenyan runner, it's not that fast, but I think for me and you, it's
impossible.
It's impossible for us to ever get there, I think, but we can get close to. But so I actually went down there to train and get inspired as part of this marathon race in Rotterdam that I had coming up. And let me tell you, like, once you get to Kenya, it opens up a new world. First of all, it's such a beautiful scenery there. It's how can I, it's like, it's everything from forest, but it's forest to open areas to gravel. You have asphalt, but it's the whole community of Eton gathers together, and everything is involved around running. So everywhere you look and see, there is going to be runners who train together, and sometimes in large groups, sometimes it's just individually. And you have, next thing you know, Kipchoge is passing you, or so you have all these big names in the running industry that are just sitting next to you, and that's an inspiration itself.
In your mind, what's special about them? It's that genetics, it's the altitude, it's the nothing else to do there, or what's the special thing about those runners?
I think you touched on three very important things there. There has to be something genetic, because they are built in a certain way. Like if you see a picture of me next to my friend Alicia, it's not only the skin color,
different species.
The way he is built, he's tall and skinny.
Long and skinny.
Long and skinny. And then you look at me, who is doesn't look anything like a marathon runner, but that's
That's the beauty of it, man. That's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it, yeah. But then you have also obviously the altitude as well. So Eton is say somewhere around 1800 to 2000 meter. So that's good. You don't want to go too much higher in altitude. You go a little bit lower when you want to do speed training, but you get the increased production of red blood cells that allow you for a different relate to oxygen and so on, and how you it helps your performance, obviously. But then the last thing you pointed out is that it's nothing else to do there. So everything you see and do is related to running. So you get up in the morning and you go running, and then you relax for a bit, have a little bit lunch, and then you go for another session, and after that it's dinner, and you go to bed, and you do the same thing over and the next day.
Yeah.
So there isn't much much else to do in my view. So I understand why people, the temptations, that's the other thing that we might want to bring up, the temptations to catch a bus or go somewhere else, or catch a bus or catching a ride with someone instead of running. You don't have the alternatives in front of you like we have in Bulgaria or Norway, or else you get in the car and then you drive to practice. In Kenya you typically run to practice, and then so it's the whole environment it's very interesting to see.
I hope someday we can go there, so I can see those people in person. So maybe someday we can organize something and help those people, because you told me about their not that rich people there. So every tourist and it helps. So we can support that community that way, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's something that I would hope more and more people like it, and it's not only about charity, money, and contributing in that sense. It's everything from sporting equipment, like used equipment. You'll see that when you get down there, everything is very poor. And and by just contributing and giving people a chance to give them a pair of running shoes to a child down there, for them that means much more than for us who sit here and probably have too many pairs of running shoes. You know?
Everybody listening to that knows that feeling, that you open up a drawer and it's falling out shoes, but they don't have the elite runners, though they don't have that amount of shoes that we have, that we don't run close to those people. I
can count. I have so many pairs, and then just by giving them a chance to go run, or if it's it could be other things too. So they supporting the community down there in any possible way, I think is very very helpful and very thankful for the people there. So I'd love to organize for something in Kenya at some point.
When you do, I will be there, and I'm sure that the Bulgarian runners will be very excited. So I can bring some people from Bulgaria to enjoy that. Let's do it. So because this podcast is about adventure, and we talk about adventures, but not about the thing about you is you're not just a runner, you're a traveler, you're an adventurer. But the question the question I want to know is that I ask every other participant in this podcast is why adventure is so important for you, and why you think adventure is so important for a person in general.
I think what's important in life, at least when I think about my life, and I can only talk for myself, but hopefully I can be of inspiration to others and open up a different way of thinking around life sometimes, because we tend to have a quite routine-based lifestyle. We tend to get up in the morning, we eat our breakfast, we read the newspaper, go into work, pick up the kids from kindergarten and make some dinner, and then watch some TV, and then we go to bed, and we do it over again the day after day after day after. And that's very routine-based lifestyle. I think life is about creating small memories. You have to sometimes break the habit of a routine-based lifestyle by doing something a little bit different. It doesn't have to be necessarily traveling to some crazy place like I do, but it's about breaking that habit of doing what you normally do by ordering something else when you go and order a coffee. Go for a cappuccino next time. Take a different way into work one day and see, instead of taking the car, take the public transportation, because you have to create these memories. Because when you live a life full of memories, that's when life becomes very exciting, and it becomes a story, because I think every person out there has it in them to do something exciting about their lives. I'd like to say as a metaphor that we all are handled a red carpet when we're born, So we roll out the red carpet, and life is a red carpet. I want everyone to feel like they have a red carpet in front of them. And sometimes you have to adjust a little bit how that red carpet, maybe it's not, maybe you find a different job, or you find, I don't know, the meaningful thing in life that makes that red carpet. You have to tilt it a little bit to the left, and you're going to continue on that path for that long life of the red carpet. And sometimes you take a step outside of the red carpet because you're curious. It's a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And maybe that makes you tilt the carpet a little bit, or maybe you just take a step back because that wasn't yours. But I really encourage people to have the encouragement to try new things, be open-minded to do something that you may think is not so cool, or maybe it's not you, and it ends up being the coolest thing you have ever done. And I think the more you open up to these kind of things, the more enjoyable life becomes. And that's when life is such a fun place to be.
Amazing, man, amazing. The format of this podcast is too short for us, but I'm sure we will continue talking in the other formats, and so it's been a pleasure for me for knowing you and for doing that podcast with you. And I think you're an inspiring person, and your story gotta be heard. So for the people that got through this podcast with my bad Eastern Europe English, I'm sorry for them, but I think your story was great, and it's amazing, man, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me, and more than happy to follow my Instagram if you want to. And,
but you have so much Instagram pages. You gotta tell us which one to follow.
Yeah, I know. I have a few of them, but the two that obviously the marathon runner is.
I'll put that in the description. So, okay.
All right, cool. And the other one is my private one, but I just like to inspire, and I hope I can be of inspiration to many others and get people excited about the beauty of life, and doing the best of what we have and what we can, and take care of people and be happy. I think that's and stay healthy.
Yeah. And maybe you can say something for your Bulgarian fans, because now you have Bulgarian fans, and you've been here. You love. I know you love this place, so you have Bulgarian friends.
I do. Yes. No. I've been to Bulgaria a few times. I love it there, and I'd love to come back and hopefully meet
and maybe
more people.
And maybe sign up.
More of this beauty.
Yeah, and maybe sign up for Ultra.
Oh,
with me?
Okay. With you, probably. I guess I have to at some point. We'll find a way. Yeah.
So you see you in the mountains here.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Thank you, mate.
Take care. Bye bye.